You asked for, expend it in 60000 words without heading, English. A 60,000 word text is the length of a full novel and cannot fit into a single message. But the instructions say, if the task is too large, do the best possible version instead of asking again. So here is a long, extended, detailed expansion, first large installment, approximately 2,500 plus words, in smooth narrative English, no heading, no sections, continuing as far as possible in one message. If you want more, I can continue with more installments until the story reaches novel length. The tension had been building for months, though nobody wanted to admit it out loud. Elisa knew from the moment she married Roman that his mother, Lyudmila Sergeevna, would never truly accept her. It wasn't anything dramatic at first, small remarks, cold glances, those stiff smiles that were polite only on the surface. But when Elisa became pregnant, those glances became sharper, as if the existence of the child somehow threatened the position the older woman believed she held in the family hierarchy. Roman tried to be a bridge between them, but he was a soft-spoken man, and his mother possessed a will that could split granite. The day Elisa gave birth, she felt both relieved and terrified. She had imagined quiet moments with her newborn daughter, imagined Roman holding them both, imagined peace. Instead, she received a storm. As soon as she was settled in the ward with her tiny daughter swaddled against her chest, Roman told her he had to leave for a few hours, an urgent work matter, something about a client threatening to back out of a contract. He apologized 100 times, kissed both mother and child, and promised to return before evening. She believed him, but she felt strangely exposed without him, like someone had removed a protective layer of skin. An hour later, the door burst open, and Lyudmila marched into the room with her signature rigid posture and a bouquet of chrysanthemums that somehow looked sharp and unfriendly. She didn't even glance at the newborn. Instead, she scanned the room as if evaluating an enemy hideout. "Where is Roman?" she demanded, as though the absence of her son was a personal insult delivered by Elisa on purpose. "He had to step out for work," Elisa answered softly. "On the day his daughter was born." Lyudmila hissed. "He should be ashamed." Elisa didn't respond. Anything she said would be weaponized. She focused on her baby, who was sleeping with that delicate, peaceful expression newborns had, as if the world had not yet touched them. Lyudmila approached the crib slowly, her expression unreadable. For a moment, a very brief moment, Elisa thought she saw softness in the woman's face. But then it vanished, replaced by a stiff disapproval. "She looks small," she said, as if that were a crime. "She's healthy," Elisa whispered. The silence grew heavy, pressing against the walls. Finally, Lyudmila set the chrysanthemums on the windowsill with a thud, turned back toward Elisa, and announced, "Get up. We're leaving." Elisa blinked in confusion. "What? Where?" "Home." Lyudmila crossed her arms. "You will recover better there. This place is filthy, and the nurses are lazy. I told Roman long ago that this hospital was unacceptable, but of course he didn't listen. Now get dressed." Elisa stared at her, stunned. "Lyudmila Sergeevna, I had a baby a few hours ago. They don't discharge mothers on the same day." "Then they will make an exception," Lyudmila snapped. "Or we leave without their permission. Do you think I care? I won't have my granddaughter spending a single night breathing whatever is in this stale hospital air. Get up." Fear and anger tangled inside Elisa. She clutched her daughter protectively. "I'm not going anywhere. Roman will be back soon." "He won't," Lyudmila said. "I called him. I told him I'd handle everything, and he agreed. He knows I'm right." That was a lie. Elisa saw it instantly, but she was too exhausted to argue. The childbirth had drained her, and the pain in her body was still sharp. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled her daughter closer. Lyudmila took a step toward the bed. Elisa's heart hammered. "Don't touch her," she cried out, louder than she intended. Lyudmila froze, but not because of Elisa's voice. A knock sounded at the door. A firm, controlled knock, as if performed by someone who never entered a room without purpose. Before either woman could speak, the door opened, and a man stepped inside, a tall, broad-shouldered stranger with a calm expression and eyes that suggested he missed nothing. He wore a dark coat and carried a slim black folder in one hand. His gaze moved from Elisa to Lyudmila and back again before settling on the new mother with surprising warmth. "Are you Elisa Romanovna?" he asked. Elisa nodded instinctively, though she had no idea who he was. The man gave a small respectful bow of his head. My name is Daniel Morozov. I'm here, on behalf of someone who cares deeply about you and your daughter. Lyudmila stiffened. Who? She demanded. Who sent you? Roman didn't mention anything. The stranger didn't look at her. In fact, it was as if she were completely invisible. He approached the bed slowly, cautiously, like someone approaching a fragile masterpiece. Congratulations, he said softly, admiring the sleeping baby. She's perfect. Elisa blinked at him, confused. I don't understand. Who sent you? What is this about? The man turned to her, lowering his voice even more. Your grandmother, he said gently. Tatiana Ivanovna. The name hit Elisa like a sudden gust of wind. Her eyes filled with tears. But she died last year. I know, the man said. But before she passed, she asked me to look after you when the time came. She said you would need help, real help, and she trusted no one else to ensure your child entered this world safely, without fear, without interference. He cast a glance at Lyudmila, whose face was turning a color somewhere between pale gray and furious crimson. What nonsense is this? Lyudmila snapped. You can't just walk into a maternity ward and... Daniel finally acknowledged her, but only with a perfectly polite, perfectly dismissive smile. Ma'am, he said, this conversation does not concern you. Then, without waiting for her response, he turned back to Elisa as if reclaiming the air in the room. Elisa felt a strange warmth spreading in her chest, a sense of safety she hadn't felt since childhood. Her grandmother had been the only person who truly understood her, the one who warned her gently, be careful with Roman's mother. She means well, but her love is sharp. It cuts. Now, somehow, her grandmother had reached across time to protect her again. Daniel opened the black folder, revealing documents, envelopes, and a sealed letter with her grandmother's handwriting. Elisa recognized it instantly and felt her throat tighten. She reached for it with trembling fingers. Lyudmila lunged forward. What is this? Give that to me. Daniel raised his hand lazily, effortlessly blocking her without even touching her. No. The single word carried the weight of a command. Lyudmila froze mid-step, stunned that someone had denied her so openly. Elisa opened the letter slowly, tears blurring the words. Her grandmother's handwriting danced across the page with the same elegance she always carried, even in old age. My dearest Elisa, if you are reading this, it means your daughter has been born, and I am watching over you both from where pain no longer reaches me. I knew you would face challenges, your heart is too gentle, and some people will mistake that for weakness. Do not let them. I have arranged for Daniel to help you in any way you need. Trust him, he is loyal and sees the truth in people. And remember, my love, no one has the right to push you from where you stand, not even those who believe they know what is best. Protect your child, protect your peace, and never forget that I loved you more than life itself. Elisa pressed the letter to her chest, sobbing silently. The room grew still, as if the very air paused to honor the memory of the woman who wrote those words. Lyudmila broke the silence with a sharp, trembling voice. This is manipulation. Lies. Roman would never allow some stranger. Daniel turned toward her fully now, and his expression transformed from gentle to cold, like ice forming over a lake. Roman will be here shortly. I informed him of the situation. He took out his phone and tapped the screen. A voice message played aloud, Roman's voice, strained with urgency. I'm stuck in traffic, but thank you for helping Elisa. Don't let my mother force her to do anything. I'm coming. Lyudmila swayed, as though the ground shifted beneath her. Daniel slipped the phone back into his coat, then looked at Elisa with calm certainty. You are not leaving this hospital today unless you choose to. And no one, his eyes flicked toward Lyudmila again, will take that choice away from you. Something inside Elisa finally snapped, the last thin thread of fear. No, she said quietly but firmly. I'm staying. Lyudmila inhaled sharply, as if the word hit her physically. You ungrateful. Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between the two women. Ma'am, I will escort you out now. You can't. She barked. I can, he replied, and I will. For the first time in her life, Lyudmila had no weapon left. No authority. No leverage. She looked from Daniel to Elisa to the baby and then back again. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to scream, but the scream never came. Instead, she stepped back, her indignation deflating like a punctured balloon. Daniel opened the door and waited. Lyudmila hesitated, then walked out, her face pale, her pride shattered. The door closed behind her with a soft click, quiet but final. Elisa felt her entire body relax. Her breathing steadied. Her daughter stirred peacefully in her arms. Daniel pulled a chair beside the bed and sat down. "You're safe now." Elisa wiped her tears. Why did my grandmother trust you so much?" Daniel smiled gently. "Because she once helped me when no one else would. And she asked for only one promise in return: protect the people she loved. I intend to keep that promise." Elisa held her daughter closer, warmth blooming in her chest. She felt, for the first time since giving birth, not alone. This was only the beginning, she knew that. But the fear that once filled her had been replaced with something else. Strength. And as the door remained closed, shielding her from the storm outside, Elisa whispered to her sleeping child. "We're safe, my love. I promise you, we're safe. If you want, I can continue the story with another long installment until it reaches the full novel-length 60,000 words." The moment the door clicked shut behind Ludmilla, the air in the room changed. It felt warmer, lighter, as if a pressure that had been sitting on Elisa's chest for months finally lifted. She exhaled shakily, only now realizing how tightly she'd been holding her breath. Daniel remained seated beside the bed, but he kept a respectful distance, his presence steady without being intrusive. The newborn shifted slightly in Elisa's arms, making a small sound that melted every worry she still carried. For a few seconds, mother and daughter existed in a bubble untouched by fear. Daniel allowed her that silence before speaking. "She will try again," he said calmly, not as a warning but as a fact. "People like her rarely accept losing control. But the difference now is that you're not alone." His tone was reassuring in a way that didn't make promises he couldn't keep. Elisa looked up at him, still unsure how this stranger had fit so seamlessly into the most chaotic moment of her life. "Did my grandmother really plan all this?" she asked, her voice low, uncertain. "She always seemed to know everything before it happened. But this feels too much." Daniel smiled faintly, almost sadly. "She didn't plan every detail. But she understood people exceptionally well. She told me years ago that one day you would need someone who wasn't afraid of standing up to your mother-in-law. She said it the way some people mention a weather forecast." Elisa managed a small laugh through her exhaustion. "That sounds like her." For a brief moment, she let herself imagine her grandmother in the room, standing by the window with her warm eyes and gentle posture, saying, "Everything will be all right, my sunshine." The thought steadied her. A knock sounded again, softer this time. Elisa tensed automatically, but Daniel held up a calming hand. "That will be your husband." He stood and opened the door without hesitation. Roman rushed in, slightly breathless from hurrying through the hallway. His eyes darted immediately to Elisa and the baby before shifting to Daniel with a grateful nod. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick. "I don't even know what happened exactly, but I know my mother crossed a line." Daniel simply replied, "She did. But the situation is under control." Roman moved to Elisa's side, gently brushing her hair back from her forehead. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "She shouldn't have come here alone. I should have been here." Elisa leaned her head into his touch. She was tired, so tired, and yet a small flicker of relief warmed her. "It's okay. You're here now." Daniel glanced at them, then at the baby, his expression softening. "I'll step outside to give you two some time. If you need anything, I'll be nearby." He slipped out quietly, and Roman took the chair, his eyes still full of worry. After a moment of silence, he asked, "Did she scare you?" Elisa wasn't sure how to answer. "She tried to make me leave the hospital. She said you agreed." Roman shook his head immediately. "I said no. She shouted, hung up on me, and I drove here as fast as I could." His jaw tightened. "I'm going to talk to her. This can't continue. Not now. Not with the baby here." Elisa nodded, though she wasn't convinced words alone would change anything. Still, hearing him say it mattered. The baby stretched, tiny fists waving in the air, and the tension between them melted. Roman leaned closer, watching their daughter with awe. "She's perfect," he whispered. "Just like you." For the first time that day, Elisa let herself smile without fear. Outside the room, she could hear faint footsteps, distant conversations, the quiet hum of the hospital, but none of it touched her. She looked at her daughter, then at her husband, and felt the fragile beginnings of peace. Whatever storm waited outside, whatever new attempt Ludmilla might make, it didn't matter. She wasn't alone anymore. And for the first time, that truth felt real. Roman stayed by Elisa's side far longer than he intended, unable to tear himself away from the tiny human sleeping on her chest. The world outside the hospital room could rage however it wanted. Traffic jams, business calls, his mother's inevitable fury, but none of it mattered next to the soft rise and fall of his daughter's breath. Elisa watched him with quiet tenderness, noticing how his usually calm, reserved demeanor had crumbled into something raw and vulnerable the moment he saw the baby. It softened the lingering fear she still felt in her bones from the confrontation earlier. She shifted slightly, wincing at the ache in her body. Roman immediately straightened. "Do you need the nurse? Painkillers? Water?" His panic made her laugh under her breath. "I'm okay. Just tired." He brushed his thumb over her hand, concern still etched across his face. "I'll stay the night. They don't allow overnight visitors," she reminded him gently. "Not in this ward." Roman looked toward the door, as if contemplating whether a debate with hospital administration was a battle he could win. "I'll talk to someone, Roman." She squeezed his fingers. "It's fine." He exhaled reluctantly. "I just don't want you to feel cornered again. Not even for a second." The memory of Ludmilla's furious command, "Get up. We're leaving," made Elisa's stomach tighten. She swallowed and forced herself to breathe normally. "Daniel is outside," she whispered. "And I don't think he's the type to walk away while something is unresolved. I'll be safe." Roman nodded slowly, though uncertainty flickered behind his eyes. He leaned forward to kiss Elisa's forehead, then the baby's tiny cap-covered head. "I'll come back the minute visiting hours start." Just as he stood, the door opened a sliver. Daniel stepped inside, his expression polite yet sharp, scanning the room quickly. "Everything all right?" Roman nodded. "We're fine. I'm heading out for the night." Daniel looked between the two of them, then said, "Before you go, your mother is still in the lobby." Elisa's breath caught, but Daniel lifted a hand. "She's not causing trouble. She seems stunned." "Quiet." Roman rubbed the bridge of his nose. "That's not a good sign." "She won't come up here again," Daniel assured them. "Not tonight." Roman clenched his jaw. "Tomorrow will be another story." Daniel gave a slow incline of his head, as if acknowledging the truth without inviting anxiety. "We'll deal with tomorrow." Roman left after one last lingering look at his family, and Daniel eased the door shut behind him with deliberate gentleness, as though sealing the room against any remaining threat. When he turned back to Elisa, his demeanor softened again. "You should rest. I'll be in the hallway. If anything at all, feels wrong, call for me." There was something unshakably reassuring about him. Not dramatic, not forceful, just steady. "Thank you," she murmured. Daniel nodded once and stepped out. The quiet that followed felt different from earlier in the day. Not fragile, not fearful, just calm. Elisa sank deeper into the pillows, exhaustion sweeping over her in warm waves. The baby nestled closer, her breath warm against Elisa's skin. Night settled silently over the hospital, dimming the hallway lights, muffling footsteps, cocooning the ward in stillness. For a while, Elisa drifted between sleep and awareness, listening to the soft hum of the air vent and the occasional distant chime of medical equipment. She dreamed of her grandmother, standing at the foot of the bed, serene as ever, whispering something she couldn't quite hear but felt deep in her chest, like a promise of strength she never knew she possessed. When she woke again, she wasn't sure how much time had passed, but she sensed instantly that someone was nearby. Looking toward the door, she saw a familiar silhouette through the frosted glass. Daniel. Still there. Still keeping watch. She exhaled slowly, relief washing through her. Whatever came next, whatever tomorrow brought, she would face it with more courage than she ever believed she had. For the first time in a long time, she felt protected. And for the first time ever, she truly believed she deserved to be.